Hey guys, welcome to another tutorial, and this time we're going to create something very useful. We're going to use some 3D objects to create uh, a city scene. We're going to use some buildings and we're going to create a city. Usually you can do this kind of stuff in programs like Cinema 4D or 3ds Max. In After Effects is mostly impossible or very hard. But there is a plugin which is called Element 3D, and we're going to use that plugin and some implemented objects which are already inside of the plugin to create a scene. I'm going to also show you some cool effects which you can use to make a scene much more realistic. So yeah, let's start. You're going to create a new composition. Just use some regular settings, and we're going to create a new solid. Make sure it's comp size, and you're going to go to Effect, Video Copilot, and we're going to use this Element plugin. So you probably already remember this plugin from our last video tutorial for a jet scene, and yeah, it's gonna be much easier for you now. So go to scene setup, wait a second till it loads, and here on the right side we have models. Now last time we used Jet Strike, and this time we're going to use Metropolitan. Inside Metropolitan there are three folders. First one are just some raw buildings which you can use your own uh, settings to create them, and there is just a poly which you can basically upgrade to your own model. And we're going to use this time already pre-made buildings. You have Metropolitan and you have Metropolitan no antennas. Now these two are basically same, except for one little thing. This doesn't have antennas. Now the reason why there are two folders with and without antennas is because those antennas have a lot of polygons. Some antennas have more polygons than actually a building they are made on. So if you have a low GPU and you don't want to use a lot of objects, a lot of polygons, the better option is to use this third folder. But if you're making a very hardcore high quality scene and you want those antennas on the top so it looks more realistic and you just want some closer look to the city, I'm suggesting you to use this second folder. It has really cool antennas made on the top, and it really brings more reality to the scene. So once you pick, it's the same, only difference are those antennas. So for this tutorial we're going to use with antennas because my GPU is not that bad. So let's just start. Now there are, as you can see, there are two types of buildings. One is made in daylight and the second one is made in night. So it's a bad option to use both in the same video because you can't use reflections from a day and from a night in the same video. So you have to pick one, either night or daylight. For this tutorial I'm going to use a night footage, night objects, my mistake, and I'm just gonna add, for example, apartment night. I'm gonna just move it a little bit. I'm gonna use building 01. Let's use building 3. I don't want some huge scene, I just want to make it cool enough. Let's add, for example, yeah, let's go a little bit with office. This one is good. And maybe just like 2 more buildings. Yeah, we can use skyscraper. Oops, mistake. We want to use z-axis. Maybe 1 more building. And yeah, that should be enough. So we basically have uh, some regular scene, and this we can manipulate this a little later if something goes wrong, but I think this is good enough for now. So once you picked all the buildings you want, you can use here some settings to manipulate those objects from a closer look. You can use reflections, you can change textures, you can change a lot of options, really a lot of options. For the sake of this video tutorial, I'm just going to use some regular settings from here, and later I'm just going to add some effects from our After Effects. Not from a plugin, but actually from an After Effects. So we're going to save a lot of time doing that. So once you have done with all the settings, you're just going to go OK and wait a little bit to update. And now we need a camera. So we're going to go create a new camera. You can go OK and use the camera to navigate the buildings. Okay. Yeah, as you can see, we have our buildings here, but what we need is to make them more populated. We need them all around the scene. So to do so, we're going to go to our element, and inside of the group 1, we want to go to particle replicator. Now change shape, replicator shape from point to plane, and you want to change particle count to, for example, 35. Okay, as you can see, this looks horrible. Don't worry, we need to change shape scale. Just increase it slowly. Okay, now I'm just gonna lower a little bit. We don't need 35 because there are a lot of buildings. 20 looks okay, and we're gonna increase it a little bit more to, let's say, almost 100. Yeah. Okay, so as you can see, we have now much better look. Maybe we want to go a little bit far away, and yeah, this looks much better now. So we have our buildings here, don't worry, we're gonna work on them a lot more. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to create these buildings. We want to use the settings which allows us to kind of randomly change each place of the building on how it's made. As you can see, all the buildings are here made in the same row, and they kind of look all the same. We want to randomly change the degrees on how they are placed. So I want to go to particle look, and before that you can use particle size. You can move it a little bit, and you can also use particle size randomly, so it changes randomly building size of each building. And what we need is particle rotation. So here we have randomize angle. Use that and change Y rotation to 90 degrees. As you can see, this looks much more natural than it was before. So let me just find some good angle where you can see. Okay, looks much better now. So our next step is to add a background. Now you can, let me just go a little bit off like this, and I could maybe add more particles. I'm on 20, I'm gonna use 30. Yeah, it's better now. And now I'm gonna go just change it like this. Okay, now it's much better. So let's add a background for our sky. I already have this Blue Night background. I'm gonna put it in the link in the description so you can download it, but you can basically find any background on Google and you can use it to go for your background footage. Of course, uh, you should look for a very high resolution ones so you can scale it up as much as you want and you don't lose any pixels. Now I'm just gonna place mine so it looks good. Okay, so next you want to create a light. Go new light and you can use settings you want. Make sure it's parallel, and as for a color we want a white one because we want some moon lightning. We don't need any yellow rays from a sun because it's night obviously. And as for intensity, I'm just gonna go with 40. Okay, and I'm just gonna now point it. So you can play around with this. Yeah. Okay, so I want the rays to come out from here, and maybe I should just lower it a little bit more. I want a little bit darker night, and I think this is okay now. Our next step is to go to again our element, and you want to go to render settings, and here we're going to play around a little bit with our occlusion, and we want to make some kind of fog effect so our buildings can basically render in with the background. So go to ambient occlusion and enable it. It will add kind of a darker effect, and you can play with intensity a little bit. I'm just gonna go with around 4 because it's night, and you can play also with radius and go to advanced options, and you can increase depth influence a little bit, and yeah, that should be it. So next you want to go to fog and you want to enable fog. Now click on here and just find some bright spot which you can use to kind of make the same effect as the same uh, environment as one in the background. So you can go and just make a start distance. Yeah, 250 is okay. We want at start at here at the bottom of the footage kind of darker look, and when it goes behind we want some kind of bluish look because of the background we have. And can use a little bit of opacity change, maybe a little, move the image a little bit down, and yeah, this looks much better. Yeah, so this looks good now. Okay, so let's just now create a new adjustment layer, and we can go ahead and add, we can write down here curves, and let's just play around with that. Now we kind of want some Gotham City look. Okay, and maybe our fog should be a little bit more lighter. Uh, Maybe increase the opacity a little bit more. Yeah. Okay, so this part here in the middle is very important because uh, it makes either more realistic or more stupid. So maybe a little bit more brighter. Another cool thing you can do is you can add a glow effect to windows and to lights, so it kind of looks a little bit better. So go to render settings, and we're going to glow, enable glow, and as you can see it already added kind of a little bit more of intensity. You can play around here, you can change that, increase it or decrease it. Also, as for a color, as you can see we have kind of blue lights in the background of an image, so you maybe want to aim for those lights. You can't you shouldn't add hard blue lights, but a little bit of a look so it kind of matches with the background. You have a lot of options here you can play. You can change aspect ratio of a glow, increase the aspect ratio, but we don't need that, so this looks just perfect now. Okay, so our last part of the job is to add some movement to this footage. Now I'm just gonna do some simple movements because I don't have any plans on what to do, but you can later with these settings you can use basically any camera movements, or you can even add some more of 3D objects to create your scene, the scene you need. So for the camera, first of all let's create because as you can see once I move camera, there is a basically black hole uh, below the buildings. Now to change that we basically need a floor, so let's add a floor. Go to black solid, scene setup. Someone is at my door. Sorry about that, it was a mailman. Anyway, let's continue. So we want to add floor. Now in the same Metropolitan pack you have below floors, so you can pick any floor you want. Because we're in the night we want to use some of these floors, and I'm gonna use street no buildings 04. So here it is. Now since we have a lot of buildings we need a lot of floors. Now you can control D and duplicate it and just okay, let me just align it next to this one, and then you can go ahead and add another one. Then we want to add here another one. And let's just add here one more. Okay, this looks good, and you're gonna go okay. And now if you take a look with the camera tool, you can see there are streets below these buildings. Now these streets, of course, are not with a lot of details, and the point is you have some floor and you can add now trees, you can add I don't know, you can even add people if you want to go that further, and you can just make it more realistic by doing so. So we have added that, and what we can do now is just, I don't know, add a little bit of movement. So we can use camera, go position P, and just go a couple of seconds further and just make some little movements. Something like this. And if you take a look now, I'm just gonna lower this to third. And once you go play, this is what you get. So it looks pretty cool. I don't know, from my angle it looks nice, but of course there are a lot of things you can work on. I already shown you what you can do. You can even add to this scene a plane, and you can make it throw and a missile into a building, and you can basically make a building collapse. There are a lot of more tutorials which I will make, so you can create your perfect scene. So that's it for today, guys. Thanks for coming by, and yeah, stay tuned and keep on watching keep your eye on MindMingba. There are a lot of good stuff coming up, and see ya.